You have been leaking your strength for years without realizing where it was going. Every unnecessary argument, every late-night explanation, every attempt to convince people who already decided to misunderstand you, it all drained something valuable from you. Not your time, something deeper, your focus, your peace, your power. And the people who benefited from your reactions knew exactly what they were doing. Because emotional access is power. The moment someone can control your reactions, they begin controlling your direction. This is what most people never understand. Attention is not kindness, attention is energy. And energy spent on the wrong people becomes self-destruction disguised as loyalty. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In politics, in war, and in life, the person who chases validation always loses leverage. The moment you begin begging to be understood, respected, or chosen, you place your emotional state into someone else's hands. And once they realize that, they stop respecting you and start managing you. Tonight you learn something different. The discipline of strategic silence. The ability to withdraw your attention from people who thrive on draining it. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is controlled energy. It is the refusal to perform for people who never deserved access to your mind in the first place. Powerful people do not react to every insult, every opinion, or every misunderstanding. They observe, they calculate, and they conserve their energy for things that actually move their life forward. Most people cannot ignore disrespect because they are addicted to being understood. They feel an uncontrollable urge to defend themselves, clarify their intentions, and prove their worth. But the more you explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, the weaker your position becomes. Why? Because now they control the conversation and your emotions at the same time. They throw doubt at you and you rush to erase it. They provoke you and you rush to respond. Without realizing it, you become emotionally predictable. He studied princes, popes, and generals. He dissected power like a surgeon dissects a body. And in all his observations, one truth echoed louder than any battle cry. The man who chases loses. The man who withdraws conquers. You see, Machiavelli never believed in fairness. He believed in results. And the results always showed that those who withheld their presence became magnetic, while those who gave it freely became forgettable. The prince who responded to every insult was seen as insecure. The prince who answered every critic was seen as defensive. But the prince who sat in silence, who let his enemies scream into the void, that prince was feared, because silence is not emptiness. Silence is a statement. It says that you are beneath my response. It says that your existence does not warrant my energy. It says that I am operating on a level you cannot reach. This is why Machiavelli advised leaders to be like the fox and the lion. The fox is clever enough to know which traps to avoid. The lion is strong enough to know which battles are beneath him. Most men today are neither. They are dogs chasing every car that passes, barking at every stranger, exhausting themselves for nothing. You will not be that man. You will learn that power is not loud. Power is quiet. Power does not explain itself. Power does not justify itself. Power simply exists, and the world adjusts to it. When you master the philosophy of silence, You stop playing games others have designed for you. You create your own game, and in your game, the only way to win is to never react at all. The psychology of being ignored. What happens inside their mind? Let me show you what happens inside the mind of someone you ignore. This is dark psychology at its purest. When you refuse to acknowledge someone, their brain enters a state of panic. Neuroscience calls it social rejection, and it activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. They feel it in their chest, they feel it in their stomach, and they cannot escape it. The person you ignore will replay every interaction, searching for answers. They will wake up at night wondering what they did wrong. They will craft messages they never send. They will rehearse conversations that will never happen. You have become a ghost that haunts their thoughts. This is the power you hold when you simply look away. The human mind cannot tolerate being dismissed. We are wired for connection, for validation, for response. When you deny someone this basic need, you create an obsession. They will try harder to reach you. They will change their behavior, hoping to get a reaction. They will question their own worth. And all of this happens while you do absolutely nothing. This is not cruelty for the sake of cruelty. This is understanding the mechanics of the human psyche and using them strategically. Weak men beg for attention. Strong men weaponize its absence. When you ignore someone who has wronged you, you do not give them closure. Closure is a gift, and they have not earned it. Instead, you leave them in psychological limbo, forever wondering, forever doubting, forever smaller than they were before they crossed you. This is the cold truth of power. The greatest punishment is not revenge. The greatest punishment is irrelevance. And you deliver it simply by treating them as if they do not exist. The art of strategic withdrawal. How to disappear without leaving. There is a difference between being absent and being strategically withdrawn. Absence is weakness. Withdrawal is power. The master of this art learns to be physically present, yet emotionally unreachable. He sits in the room, but his energy is elsewhere. He looks at you, but he sees through you. This is not something you fake. This is something you become. Strategic withdrawal means you choose where your presence goes. You do not scatter yourself across every conversation, every argument, every petty drama that begs for your involvement. You conserve yourself like a weapon that is only drawn when victory is certain. Most men exhaust themselves being available. They answer every call. They reply to every message. They engage with every provocation. And in doing so, they become common. Common is the enemy of power. When you are always accessible, you have no value. When you are selectively absent, you become rare. And what is rare is always desired. Practice this with ruthless consistency. Let calls go unanswered. Let messages sit unread. Let people wonder where you are and what you are doing. The mystery you create is more powerful than any words you could speak. Emotional unavailability is not about being cold for the sake of cruelty. It is about protecting your inner world from those who have not earned access. Your thoughts, your energy, your attention. These are sacred territories. Only those who prove themselves worthy should be allowed entry. Everyone else meets the wall. And here is the secret. Most will never understand. The less you give, the more they want. The more you withdraw, the harder they chase. You are not disappearing, you are ascending. And from your elevation, the noise below becomes quieter, smaller, and ultimately meaningless. Enemies, critics, and noise, the people who deserve your silence. Not everyone deserves your words. Most people do not even deserve your silence. They deserve nothing. Learn to identify the people who should be erased from your attention entirely. The first are your enemies. These are the ones who actively work against you. They want your downfall. They whisper behind your back and smile to your face. Machiavelli taught that a prince must know his enemies, but never give them the satisfaction of acknowledgement. When you respond to an enemy, you elevate them. You tell the world that they matter enough to disturb your peace. But when you ignore them completely, you strip them of their power. They become shadows fighting against the sun. The second group you must learn to ignore are the critics. Not mentors, not people offering wisdom. Critics, the ones who contribute nothing but negativity. They sit safely on the sidelines, judging people who are actually risking failure, building something difficult, or trying to grow. They create no vision of their own, so they feed themselves by attacking the vision of others. And the moment you stop reacting to them, their power disappears. Most critics are deeply frustrated people, projecting their own fear onto anyone moving forward. They mock ambition because they abandoned their own. They attack confidence because they lost theirs years ago. And if you spend your life responding to every opinion thrown at you, you will slowly become trapped inside the expectations of people who never had the courage to build anything themselves. That is why emotionally disciplined people stop explaining themselves to spectators. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them reduce your story to something smaller, because it helps them feel safer about their own stagnation. Their words disappear the moment reality proves them wrong. Meanwhile, your actions continue building something permanent. Stone does not argue with noise. It simply remains standing long after the shouting ends. The third group are the energy vampires. These people do not always look dangerous at first. In fact, they often appear wounded, emotional, misunderstood, or endlessly unlucky. But every interaction with them leaves you mentally exhausted. Every conversation becomes about their chaos, their drama, their problems, their need for reassurance. They consume emotional energy without ever taking responsibility for changing their own life. At first, you try helping them because you believe compassion means endless availability. But over time, you notice something disturbing. Your peace disappears, while their behavior never changes. Because some people are not seeking solutions, they are seeking emotional dependency. They survive by attaching themselves to people who listen, comfort, rescue, and absorb stress for them. And the more access you give them, the weaker your own focus becomes. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that power is preserved through selective investment. Wise people do not give equal attention to everyone around them. They protect their energy carefully because they understand that attention is finite. Every hour wasted on emotional chaos is an hour stolen from discipline, growth, creativity, and purpose. This is why strong people learn to disconnect quietly. Not with dramatic speeches, not with revenge, not with endless explanations. They simply reduce access. Calls stop being answered immediately. Conversations become shorter. emotional availability disappears. Because boundaries do not require permission. And protecting your peace is not cruelty. It is survival. Here is the deeper lesson most people never understand. Every reaction you give to unworthy people becomes energy removed from your future. Every emotional argument weakens your focus. Every attempt to save people committed to staying broken steals strength from your own goals. You cannot build a powerful life while constantly carrying the emotional weight of people determined to remain stuck. The disciplined person does not fight every battle presented to them. They choose carefully where their attention goes. They recognize that some conflicts are distractions disguised as obligations. Some people want access to your emotions more than access to your wisdom. And the moment you stop feeding those dynamics, your clarity returns. The powerful are not powerful because they dominate everyone around them. They are powerful because they know what deserves their energy and what does not. They know when to speak and when silence is stronger. They know when to engage and when walking away protects more than arguing ever could. And most importantly, they understand that peace is not found by fixing every person around them. Peace is found by refusing to hand your mind to chaos anymore. Your silence is not passive. Your silence is the loudest statement you can make. The discipline of indifference, training yourself to feel nothing. Ignoring people is easy to understand, but difficult to execute. Your emotions will betray you if you let them. The insult will sting. The disrespect will burn. Every fiber of your being will scream for you to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. This is where weak men fail. They know the strategy, but they cannot control the feeling. You must train yourself to feel nothing. This is not about suppressing emotion. This is about transcending it. The Stoics called it apatheia, a state where external events cannot disturb your inner fortress. Machiavelli called it vieru, the cold mastery over oneself that allows a man to act with precision rather than passion. Begin with small provocations. When someone disrespects you, pause. Breathe. Let the anger rise, and then let it pass through you without action. Do not clench your fists. Do not change your expression. Become stone. Practice this daily until indifference becomes your default state. The man who cannot control his reactions is a puppet. Anyone can pull his strings. Anyone can manipulate his emotions. He is predictable, exploitable, weak. But the man who has mastered indifference is untouchable. You can insult him, and he will look at you like you are speaking a foreign language. You can betray him, and he will simply remove you from his life without drama. He does not need to prove anything because his power is internal. This discipline is not natural. It must be forged through repetition, through failure, through constant self-correction. There will be days when you slip. There will be moments when your emotions win. But each time you regain control, you become stronger. Each time you choose silence over reaction, you add another layer to your armor. Eventually, nothing can penetrate it. Power dynamics and social chess. Controlling the game without moving. Every human interaction is a chess game. Most people do not realize they are playing. They move impulsively, emotionally, without strategy. They react to every attack and defend every square, and they lose. The master of power understands that the greatest moves are often no moves at all. When you ignore someone strategically, you force them to make the next move. You put them in a position where they must come to you, explain themselves to you, seek your approval. The dynamic shifts entirely. In relationships, the one who cares less holds the power. This is not cynicism. This is reality. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop seeking validation, you become the center of gravity. Others begin to orbit around you. In business, the man who appears unaffected by negotiation wins the negotiation. Desperation is visible. Neediness is visible. But calm indifference signals that you have options, that you do not need this deal, that you can walk away without losing sleep. This is how fortunes are made. In social hierarchies, the person who does not seek approval rises above those who do. While others compete for attention, you stand apart. While others gossip and engage in petty conflicts, you remain above the noise. People will notice, people will wonder, and people will respect what they cannot understand. This is social chess at its highest level. You do not win by capturing every piece. You win by controlling the board with minimal effort. You win by making others exhaust themselves while you conserve your energy. You win by being the player who cannot be read, cannot be predicted, cannot be manipulated. The game is always being played. The only question is whether you are the chess master or the pawn. The danger of caring too much, when attention becomes your chain. Here is the trap that destroys most men. They care too much about what others think. They wake up wondering if people like them. They go to sleep replaying conversations, analyzing every word, searching for signs of approval or rejection. This is slavery disguised as social awareness. When you care about the opinions of others, you hand them the keys to your mind. They can make you happy with a compliment. They can destroy you with an insult. Your entire emotional state becomes dependent on external validation. You are no longer a free man. You are a prisoner begging for scraps of approval from people who do not even think about you when you leave the room. Machiavelli warned against this weakness. A prince who seeks to be loved by everyone will be loved by no one. A prince who fears being hated will make decisions based on fear rather than strategy. The need for approval is the death of power. Dark psychology reveals why this happens. From childhood, we are programmed to seek validation. Parents reward us for good behavior. Teachers praise us for correct answers. Society conditions us to measure our worth through the eyes of others. Breaking this programming is one of the hardest things you will ever do, but it is necessary. The man who does not need approval cannot be controlled. You cannot bribe him with praise. You cannot threaten him with criticism. He operates from an internal compass that does not waver based on popular opinion. This is true freedom. Start by catching yourself when you seek validation. Notice when you change your words to please others. Notice when you hesitate because you fear judgment. Each time you catch yourself, you weaken the chain. Each time you act without seeking approval, you move closer to liberation. Caring too much is not sensitivity. It is weakness. The powerful man cares deeply about his purpose, his mission, his legacy. but he does not care at all about the opinions of those who are irrelevant to his path. Learn the difference, and you will break chains you did not even know you were wearing. Becoming untouchable, the final transformation. And everything you have learned leads to this moment. The philosophy, the psychology, the discipline, the strategy, all of it converges into one singular transformation. You're becoming untouchable. This is not arrogance. This is architecture. You are building a version of yourself that cannot be reached by those who wish to harm you, distract you, or control you. The untouchable man walks differently. He speaks differently. He carries himself with a quiet authority that needs no announcement. People sense it before he says a word. There is something behind his eyes that tells the world he has seen through the illusions that trap ordinary men. He does not compete for attention because he knows attention will find him. He does not argue with fools because he knows silence is the superior weapon. He does not chase validation because he validates himself from within. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is forged through countless moments of restraint. Every time you choose not to respond, you added steel to your spine. Every time you walked away from drama, you elevated your position. Every time you let someone scream into the void of your indifference, you proved that you are beyond their reach. The untouchable man is not cold for the sake of being cold. He is selective. He reserves his warmth for those who have earned it. He reserves his words for moments that matter. He reserves his energy for battles that align with his purpose. Everything else receives nothing. This is the final truth of Machiavellian power. The prince who can be wounded emotionally will eventually be wounded physically. The prince who can be manipulated through his need for approval will eventually be destroyed by those who exploit that need. But the prince who needs nothing from anyone becomes a force that cannot be stopped. You are not becoming heartless. You are becoming sovereign. There is a kingdom inside you that belongs to no one but yourself. Your thoughts are your territory. Your emotions are your subjects. Your attention is your gold. And you decide who enters your gates. From this day forward, you do not react. You respond only when a response has value. Not because someone demands your attention. Not because silence makes you uncomfortable. Not because you fear being misunderstood. You speak when it serves your purpose and remain silent when it protects your peace. That is discipline. That is control. Weak people react automatically. Strong people choose carefully where their energy goes. You no longer waste time explaining yourself to people determined to see you incorrectly. Because explanation is often an unconscious search for approval, and approval given by unstable people can disappear as quickly as it appears. So instead of arguing endlessly, you let your actions speak. Results silence doubt more effectively than emotional debates ever will. You stop chasing attention, validation, and acceptance. You stop trying to convince people of your worth. Because the more desperately someone seeks approval, the less powerful they appear. But when you focus on building yourself, your discipline, your knowledge, your purpose, your emotional control, something changes psychologically. People begin gravitating toward your presence naturally. Not because you begged for attention, but because grounded people are rare. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that influence often belongs to the person who controls themselves first. In The Prince, he examined how leaders survive pressure betrayal, uncertainty, and ambition. The deeper lesson was never about cruelty alone. It was about understanding human nature clearly enough to avoid becoming controlled by it. You have spent too much of your life giving emotional energy to people who drained you without gratitude. Too much time explaining your intentions to people committed to misunderstanding you. Too much effort trying to earn validation from people who could not even validate themselves. And eventually, you realize something important. Constantly proving your worth to others slowly destroys your sense of worth internally. So the old version of you begins to disappear. The version addicted to over-explaining. The version terrified of disappointing everyone. The version that tolerated disrespect just to avoid conflict. That version weakens every time you choose boundaries over guilt, silence over emotional chaos, and self-respect over desperate attachment. The stronger version of you understands that attention is currency, and currency spent carelessly leads to poverty. Every unnecessary argument costs focus. Every toxic relationship costs peace. Every emotional reaction costs clarity. That is why emotionally disciplined people become selective with their time, words, and emotional investment. Silence is no longer something you fear. It becomes composure. It becomes observation. It becomes protection. Not because you hate people, but because you finally understand that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your inner world. Some people only study your emotions to find your weaknesses. Others only approach you when they need something from you. Wisdom is learning the difference before you hand them power over your mind. The art of ignoring people is not about arrogance or cruelty. It is about refusing to surrender your peace to distractions that do not deserve control over your life. It is the ability to walk away from manipulation without needing revenge, to let go of disrespect without needing the final word, to move forward without carrying emotional chaos into your future. And this is the real transformation. Not becoming cold, not becoming heartless, becoming clear. Clear about who deserves your energy. Clear about what destroys your focus. Clear about which relationships nourish your growth and which ones slowly poison it. Once that clarity arrives, your life changes quietly but permanently. Because now your energy belongs to your future instead of everyone else's dema. This is your awakening. This is the moment where you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the driver. No more reacting to every provocation like a puppet on strings. No more explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds. No more wasting precious hours on those who would not sacrifice a minute for you. From this day forward, you operate differently. You speak less and observe more. You engage only when it serves your purpose. You let the noise of the world fade into background static while you focus on what truly matters. Your goals, your growth, your legacy. The people who once controlled your emotions will notice the change. They will test you. They will provoke you. They will try everything to pull you back into their games. But you will not be moved. You will look at them with eyes that have seen the truth. And you will give them nothing. Not your anger, not your frustration, not even your acknowledgement. They will become ghosts, trying to haunt a man who no longer believes in their existence. This is cold power psychology in its purest form. This is Machiavellian mastery, applied to modern life. This is the ruthless art of ignoring that separates kings from commoners, victors from victims, legends from the forgotten. You now possess knowledge that most men will never understand. Use it wisely. Use it strategically. Use it to build an empire within yourself that no external force can ever crumble. If this message has ignited something within you, leave a comment below with the words, "I am untouchable." Let the world know that you have chosen power over weakness, silence over noise, sovereignty over slavery. If you found value in these words, strike the like button and show your commitment to this path. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you never miss another lesson in power, psychology, and self-mastery. Your reign begins now. Go forth and be untouchable.